Rev up your engines! All these people are whining, Toyota isn't going into battery electric vehicles enough. Yeah, let me tell you something. I've been on this planet for 69 years, just had a birthday. Matter of fact, today's my birthday. Don't jump on the bandwagon with everybody else when it comes to any kind of new technology. Many of them fail or become cost prohibitive. Toyota hasn't jumped on the bandwagon because they know there's still people going to be buying gasoline cars for quite some time. Everybody talks about, oh, there's the combustion engine ban by the year 2035. That's the ban in California on the sale of new gasoline cars. Doesn't mean you can't drive them, especially Toyotas. So you bought a 2034. It might last 20, 30 years. Hey, they're still going to have gasoline people can buy to drive them around in. It's not like, oh, there's the gasoline combustion engine ban. Oh my, it's coming. Let's all jump on the electric bandwagon, blah, blah, blah. You jump on the electric bandwagon, you're going to find it's going to be a very expensive bandwagon. The cost of the vehicles and, of course, the price of electricity is only going to go up over time. They talk about, oh, they're cheap to charge up. Well, Tesla just raised their rates for the superchargers in California. And you know it's only going to go higher and higher and higher and higher as time goes on. It's just a matter of logic in a capitalist economy. The more people want to buy something, the more they're going to charge prices because they can get away with it. And if they legislate that everybody has to drive them, look at the insurance companies. Most places make it law that you have to have insurance, right? The insurance companies can charge whatever they feel like charging because you have to buy it. It's not an option. When it becomes something you have to, they're going to stick it to you, just like the electric companies. They make the electricity, pretty much a monopoly. They might say, oh, well, you can buy from this company or that company. Well, they all get it from the same place. I laugh because I had a neighbor in Houston. I've got green electricity in my house. I'm like, no, you don't. I said, your electricity comes to the same wire that mine does. It comes from a gas-powered plant down the road that runs natural gas to generate electricity, right? His didn't come from the wind or whatever. It was the same stuff I was using. Now, maybe it goes into some company eventually somewhere, but he was using the same electricity that I was using. There's no difference. It doesn't mingle on the lines from, oh, this is regenerative, this is from oil and gas. No, it all comes from the same place. Don't get fooled by this green nonsense just so you pay more money, just like recycling. Watch any of the programs about recycling, you'll find out most of it is a farce. They don't actually recycle hardly anything. They just say they are, you sort it, and then they just throw it in a pile or they send it to another country where they burn it or whatever. Don't fall for the green nonsense, because most of it is just baloney to charge you more money for what you're doing, and it's not changing hardly anything except your money's going into somebody else's pocket that says they're green, and I guess they are green. They've got your green dollars. Floodline says, how do remote starters work? My remote starter doesn't work in freezing weather, but it starts perfectly when I use the key. Thanks. Those remote starting systems are extremely complex. Once in my life, I got talked into installing one on a customer's car. Okay, he bought it. I installed it. It was such a pain in the butt. I told him, this is the first, last, and only time I ever put one of these systems in. Yours starts with the key, so the car's working fine with a key. But the remote system, the computer has to check to make sure it's in park, it's not moving, it's sitting, everything's okay, then it starts the car. You say it doesn't work in freezing weather, something's wrong with the electronic receiving unit or where the receiving unit hooks up to the car to make it start. If I were you, I'd leave the stupid thing alone. I've never seen anybody able to fix the things when they broke other than replace the whole unit, which costs a fortune. Now, I mean, you might check your remote battery and that, the sending unit you got, maybe that's going bad and pray it's not in the car itself, but since it starts with the key, unless getting a new remote fixes it, I would just leave it alone if I were you. Israel Romero says, Scotty, should I use NGK Iridium spark plugs for a Honda Civic 02, and how long should I go before I change? Iridium plugs are really good plugs. The reason they use iridium is because it's really hard metal, and it doesn't decompose and start to eat away, so then the gap gets too big and it doesn't spark right. You can use it on a 2002. They can last sometimes 200,000 miles, but here's the thing. You got an old car. It's 20 years old. You got to check them every once in a while. If they're getting carbon because it burns a little oil, then you got to replace them. That's the thing. On a brand new engine, they can go a really long time. But you put them in an old engine, they'll run fine. But if you burn a little bit of oil, they'll start fouling up sooner than they will later. I tell people that have oil burners that carbon up the plugs a lot, get a lot of carbon on them. I say just buy the cheap spark plugs. You're going to be changing them all the time anyways. Don't buy spark plugs that are 15, 20 bucks a piece when you can get ones that are 3 bucks a piece, because you're going to be changing them all the time because they're fouling up with the oil. Jeff says, is it a good idea to buy a one-owner 88 Volvo 740 GL with 92,000 miles and a 5-speed standard transmission? Those 88 740s could run forever. They were solid built vehicles, really solid. And the standard transmissions are really strong. With their automatics, they're a little bit on the weak side. It's only got 92,000 miles, so it shouldn't be worn out. On the other hand, let's look at it. It's a 1988 Volvo, 36-year-old car. That's an old car. What are you going to do with it? You know, it probably isn't going to be good for an everyday driver. Rubbers will leak. Things will start to wear out. Maybe it's a knock-around car. I wouldn't use it as an everyday driver. When they're that old, all the rubber's going to rot. And you might say, well, rubber's not that expensive. Yeah, okay, say the rear main seal of the engine goes. It's a rubber seal. Costs 20 bucks, right? But you got to pull the engine off or the transmission to change it. It's going to cost a fortune. So I wouldn't buy it as an everyday driver. Mohammed says, what's your opinion on a Toyota CHR? I did a video on one last year, and I was impressed. I like the vehicle. If that's the type of vehicle you like, but before you even buy something like that, road test one. Some people don't like, they ride a little bit rough. Maybe they're too small. Maybe it's too noisy on the highway. Maybe it's not comfortable for you. My brother-in-law, a few years back, he bought a Hyundai. He liked it. He looked good. He took it for a trip to Canada and back from Texas. Then he got rid of it and got himself a Honda because he said, it rides rough. It hurt my back. I didn't like it. You should have road tested it first. If you're thinking about buying one, they're excellent vehicles. They can last a long time, but road tested first. Don't just say, oh yeah, that's great, I'm going to buy it, and then say, oh man, my back hurts, it's uncomfortable, it's too noisy. Check that out first. I always tell people that. You're going to buy a car, a new car, road test one first. It might be something you hate about it, then you wouldn't want to buy it. They're reliable, they'll run a really long time, but road test one first. TJ says, diesel tech or auto tech? What do you want to do? Diesel tech guys generally make more money. And if you're going to do diesel tech for big diesels, go right ahead. There's always going to be money in that, the big diesels, because let's face it, they're going to be driving diesel trucks to deliver stuff for a long time. If they do eventually switch to electric trucks, hydrogen trucks, whatever, they're going to be the same trucks. They're just going to have different power plants. And then you can learn how to fix them too. You already have the tools for working on it, right? You're going to make a lot more money working on big diesel trucks than you are working for cars. You go to auto tech, you work for somebody else. Some of it is barely minimum wage when you consider the money you have to spend on tools and what they're going to pay you. And they don't pay a salary, they pay you hourly wages based on how hard you work, and they keep cheating the mechanics. I know guys that worked at dealerships and they double bill. The customer would see one bill, the mechanic would see another, and so the bill might be $2,500. The mechanic might have made $75 doing the work. But with diesel techs, no, they get more money. If you don't mind working on diesels, that would make a better choice. Jackson 69 says, what do you feel about the new age Mustang GT? They gone back to a lot of the old body style. You look at a newer Mustang and an older Mustang, and they really, you can see the similarities, but kind of in the middle, they lost it. As far as I'm concerned, they really lost it when they went to the Fox body. I always thought Fox body was a GM thing. I don't like them. I mean, that's, you like them or you hate them. I hate them. Some people like them. But to me, they weren't Mustangy enough. Went back to the old style. I like the style. Now, as anything else, it's a Ford Mustang. You got to take care of the things. If you don't, guys beat the heck out of them, then they'll fall apart like anything else. Since they have a lot of horsepower, they'll fall apart even faster. Mark Walker says, regarding glow plugs, can I change just one of them? Sure, you can do whatever you want. If one's bad, go ahead and change just one. Glow plugs, of course, are on diesel engines. When you turn the key on, they glow red hot so that the cold diesel engine will start up. Once the engine's warmed up, you don't even need them. If one burn out and the others are working, perfectly fine. It's just to start the engine. Now, you get a gasoline car, I wouldn't advise changing just one spark plug. If one's worn, the others are worn, and that's how it runs all the time. But the glow plugs are only to start it up, and if only one of them's gone out, what the heck, just change one. Then if it starts, great. Since it only starts the car and has nothing to do with it running down the road normally, you can do that. Sal says, Scotty, when's your live podcast on Saturday and Thursday Eastern Standard Time? Now I'm back in Rhode Island. Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, because I'm on the Eastern Time Zone now. I do a live car talk. And also Thursdays at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time. Before I'm in Tennessee, Tennessee's a weird state. The eastern half is Eastern Time and the western half is Central Time. Well, I'm in the western half, so it's Central Time. So when I'm in Tennessee, it's different. It's 10 a.m. on Saturdays, Central Time and 1 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time when I'm in Tennessee. But I'm in Rhode Island now for a couple of months, so 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturdays and 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time on Thursdays while I'm here in Rhode Island. So you can ask me questions. I'm here to help everybody out. And you can ask me questions live and get some interesting answers. And if you got something funny or a horror story to tell about your experience with cars, hey, join in the show. Type it up and then I'll talk about it. I'm here to help everybody. A little entertainment too, you know. We all need a laugh nowadays in these insane times we live in. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.